You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Noah Carr.
What's up, everybody? It's Noah Carr from the Carr Baby YouTube channel and the Crossover podcast. I'm happy to be here.
So Noah, tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you do professionally?
I have a degree in early childhood education and infant care specialty, but I changed careers and became an environmental engineer and wastewater manager. I do a lot of water purification and water research.
What types of water purification and water research? Now, what do you mean by this? Like, what extensively do you do?
Right now, I work for the state of North Carolina and do water refinement to send into cities and stuff that don't have available sources of water.
So are you trying to kind of create a more cleaner system? Because I know there are some areas that experience what they call fracking, and like they turn on the sink and next thing you know, their water's brown, and that's what they consider drinking water.
Right. Well, that's not that's a problem regardless, but that's not really fracking. That's people who live on well water, and the fracking might contaminate their underground water springs. What we do is places that don't have maybe big rivers or giant lakes running through it, we drill either wells for them and have a giant public source of water that send into these towns, or maybe there is a small lake or a small stream and we'll build dams or whatever in them to use water to send in them just to give them available drinking water.
How did you decide to go from early childhood development to water purification? That's a big gap.
I was a teacher for like 2 to 3 years, 2.5 more likely. And man, I still do a lot of volunteer work with children and stuff. That's still one of my big call-ins, but it's just like not a good paying field, especially in North Carolina. It's one of the lowest paid like states for a teacher to live in and stuff. So I was like, man, I got to get a career. And I've always liked working outside and, working in nature. And it's like a very rewarding field and stuff, So
yeah,
when I saw the opportunity, man,
it's a type of connection really around us with the earth and stuff too. Like a lot of people look at water, but there's so many benefits to it. It's a calming effect. It's kind of, we need it to survive. I mean, our bodies are practically made of 75% water, 90% water, I think actually.
Yeah, it's I think it's that much. I don't remember the actual percentage off the top of my head, but you're right. It's really amazing just to be able to work outside. And it's not all like nature and stuff. There's a lot of chemical compounds and math and calculations and filtrations you have to know off the top of your head. But I like it, and I'm still able to do volunteer work with kids too. So it's not like I totally quit on that. So it's real good.
Do you find that I guess I would say, do you find that kind of understanding more about water, you start looking at it a little bit differently than most people would?
Oh yeah. Like the main thing like I've been dealing with here lately this quarter is the damage water does, and not just like washaways or floods. We're talking like wear and tear, eating through buildings and metal. Like it's amazing how a lot of people just think it's like water. But, it's corrosive, eats away at stuff,
Yeah, acid rain, dude. Amount of pollution getting into the air, causing it literally to rain acidic levels and burning your skin.
Yeah, that's another big thing that we do. We have to test the water like regularly and stuff because we got to make sure that kind of stuff doesn't get into a distribution center. Like you don't want to turn on your faucet and that kind of water come through and burn your lips and stuff.
Do you find that, I guess, with kind of understanding, a little bit more about nature, being working in it, and have you become more environmentally friendly? Because I mean, just kind of looking at you a little bit, like even in your house, it seemed like you lived in like a log cabin. I'm starting to think like a woodsman.
Yeah, I'm very proud of my little cabin and stuff. It's a cabin kit, but I helped assemble it. Uh, at first, I thought, because I grew up on a farm and stuff, right? I thought I was going to just be like an inner city teacher and live in a nice apartment and stuff. But, just different plans. Once I kind of got into the field and stuff, I slowly like became a lumberjack. Like I grow my hair and my beard out now. I'm kind of like slowly embracing the hippie lifestyle.
Yeah, it's not anything I mean, it would be stereotypical to be called a hippie lifestyle, but it's really just about a sense of kind of really a realization about the things around you that we take a lot for granted. I mean, a lot of people just go into their homes and don't even look out their window ever. Sitting outside and enjoying a coffee like myself at 4 o'clock in the morning, especially when winter's coming, dude, just to take that nice deep, like kind of breath in and having that cold chill come and hit you kind of in your lungs, like fill up your lungs, there's no better feeling. Like that is a sense of calming for me.
Yeah, so like I've been able with this new field, like I get up every day at 3 and I go to my job. Like my office is in a building built right into one of the dams where we've built a water reservoir for a small spring and a small creek and stuff. So I go and I jog around the dam, and there's like thousands of acres of like private land that the federal government set aside for conservation and stuff for water, conservation. And I'll jog there. I'll get my miles in around 3 a.m. and then I'll clock in about 6:30, do my paperwork, and then I'm back outside. Like looking at the trees and taking samples and seeing bears. I see like so much wild animals. Like today, I had wild turkeys all over my car as I was leaving work today, around the same time you were messaging me. So
And
it's really cool just to be out there in the sticks.
And it's a lot of people don't even realize what they're missing out on either. Like for me, as a kid, the one thing I really loved doing was camping with my dad. I remember at 1 o'clock in the morning when I was 14 years old, I should be basically in school, but I was, taking what they call a vacation day or a sick day from school. Me and my dad would just go camping. We'd have bonfires at night, sit all the way up until 1 o'clock in the morning, and then we'd open up a bushel of crabs. I repeat, a bushel of crabs, man, shrimp, all that at 1 o'clock in the morning. Dude, there is no better feeling than a nice full moon out. You're sitting at a bonfire under an awning next to a camper, eating crabs or some type of seafood with your dad. That is a bonding experience for life, man. I had moments like that almost every single weekend.
That sounds like a stereotypical Maryland thing, though, crabs, but no
Oh,
hating,
yeah.
man.
We also say Monday.
Like,
We also say Tuesday.
oh God, we let me think. Yeah, we say screets, like get out the streets, boys. We got to go into town, stuff like that. Like I understand that. I got that southern flow, that South Side Georgia talk. Uh, my dad, he scared us one time, like real bad when I was camping. He told us that, and turned out to be true. That's like years later, that there was a train that tipped over, and then like a wild black jaguar got loose or something. So me and my friends were like camping in the woods, and he came and scared us, making them jaguar noises and stuff. Man, but then like 3 years later, it turns out that was a true story. It was just, and they caught the jaguar. So it's crazy stuff, man.
Do you think your connectivity kind of with nature in a way really came from just like your childhood experiences? Because like for me and you, especially like you're older than I am, but me being 21, I had at least kind of the last kind of I guess you would say, generation here, coming from like the late 90s. At least it seems like once we got into the 2000s is when technology started to take off in a vast amount of ways. And I see stuff in my little cousin who's only like, I think he's 15 now. He plays Fortnite all day. I remember I had my video game moments, obviously, but he got caught in the rain on his bicycle. And you know what he gave me as an excuse? He goes,
What did he give you?
He goes, I pulled out my cell phone and I called an Uber. And I'm like, you called an Uber? And he goes, yeah, man, I didn't want to get my stuff wet. It was so awesome. The Uber guy could fit my bike in his car. I was like, I just looked at his aunt and I'm like, you fucked up. You fucked up. You got to ride in the rain.
You failed as a parent.
You got to have that like experience. Like nobody knows, at least kids nowadays are not going to experience riding as fast as you can to beat the storm just to get home. Like you literally, it just starts raining as soon as you pull up into the driveway. You just throw your bike into the grass. You didn't care if it rusted. You ran inside like, I made it. I just beat nature.
So, and you're 21, right? Is that what you said?
Yes, sir. 21.
So, I mean, you had, especially maybe more so me, I'm not really sure. But I got to see the evolution of technology growing up from the early 90s and stuff.
Yeah, like, back when you had a CD player.
I was around. Oh, no, man. I had cassette player, man.
Oh, shit,
I had
dude.
Tapes. Yeah, I know. I'm old as dirt, son. Like, I remember beepers. No, I remember payphones. So I was traveling, right? I was in Alaska, and I just got off my airplane and my phone didn't work. And I called the phone company, and the lady from India was trying to tell me that Alaska wasn't part of America, that my phone wouldn't work there. So about after 15 minutes of cussing her out, I go to the closest gas station. I walk in there. I'm like, hey, dude, do you got like a payphone I can use? And the dude in the gas station goes, we don't have no damn payphone. It's not 1995. And I was like, you son of a gun. Like, I wanted to deck him right there.
Once you start
I remember, like, using...
Well, like, once, like the CD player, okay? Like, I picked one CD, and when I went to the bus stop, there were no other options. There were no Spotify. There was no millions of songs onto my phone. There was none of that. My phone was a flip phone. So when you crafted out a text message, it took you 30 minutes to send a sentence. So if someone texted you a paragraph, you knew that motherfucker was being serious. Like, you were in some deep shit. And nowadays, you get people with the iPhone, and they just text paragraphs after paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. You're like, how the hell are you texting so fast? And they're like, oh, I'm voice texting. It's like, well, shit. Like, what happened? I miss getting into an argument on the cell phone, and instead of just tapping it, I would flip the motherfucker. I would close it with such anger, such emotion. It sounded like a damn William Shakespeare poem if I tried to describe it.
Yeah, back in the day, right? Slamming your flip phone was like slamming a door. It had like the same emotional like context with it, And I never had a flip phone, but I had one of those chocolate slides where you slide it open and it had like the keypad inside of it and stuff.
Yeah, I actually had a blue one.
They looked like the little drug dealer phones.
They look like an MP3.
Yeah.
They had an MP3 when you slid. I remember I was so angry one time, I slid it up and the screen just went. It kept going up. Like it disconnected from the actual phone and broke off. I was like, what just happened?
I think everyone had that problem. Those things are so cheap. You just like slide it and it just...
I'm in no way an old ass. I'm in no way elderly. I'm in no way above years or something. But I can tell you how difficult it was to get a song on your phone without paying for it, like $4.99 or something, like you would pay for HBO. No, you had to sit there by YouTube next to your computer, and you had to sit there and record the whole thing and make sure there was no noise, none at all. And that's how you got the recording of that song.
Man, I was before YouTube, man. I had to deal with mixtapes and burned CDs. That was like the best time for me. Like in high school, you tell everybody what song you like, and if they had the technology, they would burn you a CD.
Yeah, like, yo, can you hook me up with that new DVD release? I know it's in theaters, like some pirated movies and stuff. But that's where you see like that the kids like your generation and others, like they have a more appreciative kind of aspect of technology is a good comfortable thing. It's a good notion, but it also makes our lives way too much, I guess, easier. And it seems like every problem we have that technology has solved, it created in the first place, you know? Such as, when Facebook goes down, I can't post. It's like before there was no Facebook.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. I think it happened the other day. Like that was trending on Twitter for like 4 hours. Facebook's down or something. I was
That
like,
was
dear
that was yeah.
God. They literally jumped from one social media to another to complain about it. I was
But the
like, dear
funny thing
God.
was, Twitter was down as well. There was a few people
Right.
that could get access to it, but since it's all connected and owned by the same company, people are like, "Wait, my Twitter's not working either. My Instagram's not working." I'm like, "Cause it's all owned by the same thing." And now that one company that we relied on is now experiencing problems, and they chalked it up to some dude for whatever his had a power outage or something, and all his servers, like apparently where the main system's being held, got shut down. And I was like, "Was that it?" Or now that I really think about it, like just by talking to you, was it maybe a test to see how reliant we are on our devices, seeing how much they have actually captured our attention?
Now the thing with Twitter isn't quite assimilated by Facebook yet. They're still their own entity, but Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, that's all part of the Zuckerberg empire. And they've been known to do tests like that. They're notorious doing almost like human experiments. It doesn't seem as extreme, but that's the proper title for it. It's human experiments.
Well, once I broke my cell phone, I didn't have one for 2 days. And I can tell you, I did freak out for the first little bit, but then I started waking up in the morning for the next 2 days, and I was looking for my phone to check just the time, just to check it as soon as I woke up. And I realized that was something I needed to eliminate from my life. I'm the type of guy that leaves my phone in the car when I go into the grocery store because I don't want that 30-minute trip to turn into 2.5 hours. I love technology. I love that we can talk, we can have a way of communicating and getting our message out there or just being able to do cool stuff with it. But I also believe that we take it to the farthest extent and ride it down until it's broken.
I agree. And I think I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of being addicted to technology. I get the phantom tingle. Have you ever had that where you feel like your phone's vibrating in your pocket and you don't even have your phone with you? That's your body like craving those endorphins, those little neurons firing off in your brain every time you check and you get like a notification from your phone.
Yeah,
Like
sometimes
people get
someone's
addictive.
Yeah,
And
well, we have addictive
yeah,
personalities as people because we're trying to cope with the immense amount of problems that are facing today's world. And it's only getting worse and worse and worse because technology has given us a way of being so comfortable that we're not problem solving effectively, we're not communicating properly. And my theory on technology goes down to what I call false communication. False communication is when you came home after a long day and you wanted to talk about it or you wanted to do something, you would talk to someone that you lived with. You would explain to a family member, a friend, what's going on in your life, and they would sit there and listen to you. But we now go to Facebook, we now go to Instagram, we post a bitch post, and we literally cry about our day. And then it gets a like. And then we feel like we've been accepted. And we feel that kind of void or hole get filled. But the problem is, every time you post, that like is going to keep that number needs to keep increasing because if it goes down, you do not feel the same satisfaction than originally felt when you originally put it up. So let's say you get 2 likes on one post, 3 likes, 4 likes, 5 likes. Next thing you know, you get 3 likes, you get 2 likes, you get 1 like. Then you feel like people don't care about you anymore. And it creates an immense amount of depression, and what you're seeing in ages like 12 years old and 8 years old, kids are coming up with severe depression and anxiety. It's scary, but it's a real thing. And it's only getting worse because of where technology is being used for. It's not technology's fault, it's human intent, where our intent is lying somewhere else now, where we can have a bigger grasp to hurt people because we're behind a screen.
yeah, about that, I used to do a podcast with a guy, and the episode's still up if anybody's interested in checking them out. It's called the Soda Jerk Podcast, but we're not doing it anymore. It's done. He would get so consumed with the views on it. Like we would record it on a Monday, and literally every day, 2 or 3 times, he'd be like, "Hey man, we only got 13 views. Hey man, it just got up to 20. Hey man, it got up to 25. Hey man, this episode didn't do good." Like constantly. He was so consumed in it. And it's like you said, his emotions roller coastered. When we got like a good amount of views on an episode, I'd get the message like, "Yeah, man, it hit big. Oh, I feel great about this episode." But if it was a bad episode and no one listened to it, like he would be in my DMs, like, "Oh my God, we got to do something better. We got to change stuff. We got to do this." He was consumed by it, absolutely consumed.
I experienced this with someone. I would go and play basketball with my buddy at this rec center at night. And I remember we had a friend of his and kind of a friend of mine join us. And this guy was a social media bug. I mean, he literally everything he was doing every minute of every day, he was literally like talking to people on social media like, "Hey," well, he invites basically an open invitation to everyone out on Facebook that's friends with him to come to this basketball rec center and play with us. When it was just me and my buddy just relaxing after like a long day, it's like 10 o'clock at night, and we just wanted to shoot some hoops. So we're sitting there, we're not good at all. We're just kind of messing around, kind of talking. It's like a bonding experience. And he's inviting all these people. And I'm like, "What are you doing, dude? Like, come on, we're just playing ball." And he goes, "Well, how are people going to know?" I'm like, "Know what?" He goes, "That we're here doing it." I was like, "What the fuck are you saying? Like, what are you doing? What do you mean, how are people going to know? We know we're doing it. It's not an open invitation. Someone could come down here and just decide to kill us when you put something out like that." And it was really weird to see. And the more I kind of hung out with this kid, I started to realize, like, even now I see him, he's older, like a couple of years older than me, but everything he does, "Hey guys, I'll be doing this at this time, doing this at that time. Hey, I got this lined up, got this line." And then he's getting a few likes. He's become like he tries to adopt on social media influence. He's paid money for followers. He's done all these things. I'm like, they don't care though. They don't care about you.
Yeah, they really don't. That the guy that I did the podcast with, that was our biggest thing before we ended that podcast series and stuff. He was buying followers. You see, in my spare time, I do stand-up comedy. I'm in the middle of my tour right now. Also, I do some pro wrestling gigs every now and then. The guy I did the show with was a pro wrestler, but he was pouring money into followers. I was like, "Man, this is not how you do it." Like all these accounts, who cares? They're fake. Like you're doing Russian bots, you're inflating your views. No one's going to think you're good if it's not good.
You're literally liking. You're asking for likes. You're begging. You're paying money to boost a post. Like me, when I go onto another person's podcast and they want me to promote my content, I tell people it's called Out of the Blank. Look it up. And they say they literally have to promote it for me. And I tell them it's because we can look it up ourselves. We get so many things handed to us nowadays. It doesn't make. I don't feel right by giving all my links and descriptions. And yeah, I love it when I get a review, if I get a like, if I get whatever, but I don't live my life on it. I literally have messaged YouTube multiple times, messaged Spotify, stop showing me my analytics and shit. I care about the people and the conversations I'm having, because I've podcasted with over 200 something individuals, and they're all amazing. They're all their own people with thoughts and feelings on this world. But so many people want to get a piece of whatever you got. Like my parents work in broadcasting. I could have easily gotten my own radio segment on one of their stations for a good hour and a half where everything would be lined up for me. I'd be interviewing people from Impractical Jokers to famous actors to, I could even whoever they could get me. And I don't want to do that because I don't want to have my foot in the door somewhere. I don't want to have a structure or a list of things that they're going to tell me I can and can't say. No, I want this to be me. I want to do the hard work, put in the time, watch it grow if it does, and also experience this and these amazing people. So many people just want to grab a piece and hitch a ride of what you want to have. And I'm like, dude, we're all trying to survive here together. We're we're all about trying, if we just learn to help one another, share maybe a friend's post or something if they need a like or something, if that's what they feel like they have at that time, that's okay. But don't go so excess to where you focus so much about it that you can't even live a functional life anymore, because everything is surrounded by making sure you're being noticed by people who really don't truly care about you.
That's absolutely right. You couldn't have said it any better. So I do the crossover podcast, which is kind of like yours. It started off as a promotional thing to build our previous podcast series. When I was on a team with people, we would cross over, and literally the guys told me, we're trying to steal their listeners. We want them to see how good we are, and hopefully we'd get more listeners. But it got to the point, I'm like, I'm not about that. I'm having a great time just building a community with these people they're coming on our podcast or I'm coming on theirs. I'm learning a lot. Like, I had fun doing it. Like, I enjoy what we're doing right now. This is absolutely fun. When people try to make your hobby a business, it ruins it.
Yeah,
Like,
and I know you do your
that's why I had to stop podcasting for a while.
yeah,
But now I'm kind of getting back in it, and it's going good.
Your podcast is literally about podcasting, and I'm pretty sure you've experienced it. People message you saying, hey, you could get these amount of views if you did this, if you did that, if you monetize what you're talking about. I'm like, I had that happen to me, and immediately I sent them a message. That's not the point. That's not the concept. But they're like, you would get a way bigger following. You would get way more listening. And I'm like, if you just had a narrow down topic, I'm like, the best part about my podcast is it's not a place for promotion. I can give you that minute at the end to do it, but it's conversation. It's sitting down and being your true self, being what you're passionate about, being you. Don't come on giving me some type of character, some fake act, because I won't vibe with it. Don't come on thinking. I've ignored people that write books and stuff saying Amazon #1's bestseller. I got 30 minutes for you here. Book it in this window. Then don't fucking come on. This isn't a 30-minute get together and then you're out the door. The min time is an hour, but it can go longer than that. I just find that, with bathroom breaks and people like, I have this, everyone lives a life. They have stuff going on around them. I don't edit my podcasts. I keep all the barks, all the whatever meows, all the kids asking like I'm hungry or whatever. They're all in the podcast. And I've had people say like the sound quality is kind of like iffy, and I'm like, it's not. That's not it though. You understand that everyone doesn't have a professional microphone set up 24/7 in their house. Some people have to go off a cell phone, like yourself. Some people have to do this thing, but it shows the amount of power and inspiration as it is to the human race that someone's willing to take an hour out of their day to talk on whatever device they feel fit and whatever they have at the time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a lot of problems with people who are starting podcasts these days. And to anyone listening who's trying to start something, you should never give yourself like limitations or something. Be like, oh, I can't start a podcast. I don't have this equipment, or I don't have this or that. Like, don't make excuses. Just do it.
I always get 3 questions when I start my podcast episode. The one person before we start goes, "Can I cuss?" I say, "Fuck yeah," if that answers your question. And then the second one is, like, what are we going to talk about? Do you mind? I like politics. I do a politic podcast. I want to talk about politics. I'm like, go ahead. 3, and then they ask like what things they don't want brought up. And I'm like, dude, if you wouldn't have told me that, I would have never brought them up in the first place, because I guarantee you that's not where this conversation is going to lead. And I've had people say like, you get really, really famous people. What do you extensively search for people? I'm like, how did I message you, Noah?
You messaged me for dang Instagram. You just slid in my DMs.
I slid right in the DMs.
I just want people to, yeah, man. I just want people to talk to me like I'm normal and stuff,
Well, see, I
think it's real cool when you can just like walk up and talk to people like they are people. I know like all the big name people I know just kind of appreciate that. You don't treat them like they actually are untouchables or celebrities, if you want to use that word or whatever. Just be cool. Just be chill.
Well, celebrities are people too. A lot of people don't realize. Even TMZ just highlights the bad aspect of people of these celebrities, and then you lose belief in them. But what really rationalized me is that we're all people together living on this earth, and we all are basically exactly the same. We have different things and interests that make us passionate about stuff, but no person is more important than anybody else, no matter your fame, no matter whatever. And I came to this realization because my older cousin used to be babysitted by Sam fucking Elliott, the guy from the Silverado Trucks commercial, the guy from Roadhouse. And I remember he told me this and was walking away from me when he said it. I stopped, paused the ranch, which he's featured in, and I looked at him. I said, "What the fuck did you just say to me?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, he used to be my babysitter. Like, he used to watch me all the time when I was little." And I looked at him. I was like, why are we not talking about this? He goes, Robbie, they're people, man. They're just like us, but they found something that got them to where they are today. And he just started walking away. I'm like, damn. I'm like, dude, that's like saying you met Ric Flair. And he goes, yeah, I met him in an airport. And I was like, what? Like, how are we not talking about this? Because he comes from like a rich kind of lifestyle for a little bit. So he used to fly on private jets and stuff. And he used to live out in LA. So he met a bunch of them. And I'm like, you were just met normal, like these famous
Nice.
people every day. And he's like, dude, they're just normal individuals who found something in this world that they're passionate about and pursued it and then ended up becoming what they are.
Yeah. Uh, all the let's see. I know quite a few people. I know the original Green Power Ranger, which I do a stand-up bit about him. Uh, I've met Ric Flair. My dad met R Truth in the airport, but my dad, being an old man that he is, thought he was the rapper Wale. But R Truth still took a picture with him, so that's always a funny story I tell people.
Yeah,
Uh,
my dad was out. My dad's a DJ also, and he does like he went to a gig. I remember I think when I was like 5 years old. So this is like the early 2000s, and Ziggy Marley was really big. And he walked over, didn't know who Ziggy Marley
yeah,
was, and he was there's a guy smoking a cigarette. My dad explains it like this: there's a you know a black guy smoking a cigarette, long dreads. I just walked up to him and asked if I could bum one. He gave me a cigarette. We sat there and talked, and he goes, "Yeah, man, nice talking to you." Walked away, and then some dude ran up to him, was like, that was Ziggy Marley you literally were talking to for like 30 minutes. And my dad's like, oh, cool. Like my dad's been around famous people. He met Wee Man, he met all these things. He does get excited. I have a signed picture of Wee Man pointing, it says stay cool Rob on it. And there's pictures of my dad with him. My dad met Kiss. That's his lifelong all-time favorite band. My dad's actually in a Kiss commercial. There's a Swedish commercial, and my dad plays the drummer because
sweet.
the drummer couldn't make it or something. And this is before Peter Chris, and or not before Peter Chris, after Peter Chris and everything. So they kind of adapted new people, but it was like it's crazy to see the stories and the amount of like aspect of when we put this godlike focus into celebrities when they're just average everyday individuals. They're people that mean something to us, whether it's a favorite celebrity or someone that we favor, but they're overall just people that found a way in this world. And I think everyone has that aspiration and has that ability to do that. They just need to find something that they're passionate for.
Yeah, I think because everyone's got the same goal. You want to not either be famous. Some people want to be famous,
You just want to
but
be
you just
remembered.
want to do something, be successful at it, and be remembered, and have just have a nice lifestyle. It doesn't have to be luxurious. You just want a decent life. Just want to stuff that bank account. Just so you don't gotta you want to thrive, not just survive.
Yeah, you want to make
Uh,
sure that your life's set out. Like a lot of people that choose to stay in a job position that they don't enjoy, that they don't want to lose because of that paycheck is too damn nice. That paycheck makes sure that they can keep surviving and have food on the table and have a life still to live. Nobody wants to go without it to chase down a pursuit or passion. And I tell people, like, I'm like, look, I'm at fault for doing it myself. I don't want to end up working at a hotel for the rest of my life. I hate it, but it's a paycheck. But I also, in my free time, anytime that I do have off, any ability, even I'm an insomniac. So, I mean, I'll do podcasts at 1 o'clock in the morning with someone from Africa, like today I did. And it's all about
cool.
really how far are you willing to go to do something that you love? I love doing this. It's awesome that if I could make this a living, but I'm not relying on that. I love having the conversations, and I've noticed from my very first episode where I was just talking about shitting in different hotel rooms, just the whole concept of, you're trying to find your ground. And I watch my knowledge expand and my thoughts on the world and the way I've been talking change. My questioning changes. My mind has became more open and expansive. I started consuming all information and not just closing anything out because it's not something I didn't believe in.
Oh man, you hit so many good points, and there's like so many like good thing to say. Before I started traveling, like I lived in Alaska for a little bit, lived in Argentina, took a lot of road trips across America. I knew that there was more out there, but I didn't know. Like my mind was a little bit open, but as soon as I started traveling and seeing the world and everything, it really opened my mind. Not like just talking to people, just meeting different. Like there's more than the people in your neighborhood. Like there's people who live differently, speak differently. It's so easy to get into that kind of closed circuit, closed mind attitude. You know, that's why I always tell people like, don't be stuck in your hometown. Just go out and see the world. Don't waste your time. I worked with a guy when I was first in college who he had never left the Western Carolina like mountains. He had never seen the ocean. He had never been into Georgia, anywhere, any other state, just Western Carolina. And he was 50 something years old. So most likely he died without seeing the ocean or any other state. And that's not a life to live. Like he probably didn't think he missed anything because he didn't know any better, but he missed out on a life of experiences.
Yeah, you don't want to like be 90
And
years old. Someone wheels your ass up to a window and they ask you the question, so did you live a life? And you're like, I lived one, but it's not one that I got to do anything in. Like, you don't want to feel like you wasted all your years. And then when you're at your deathbed, the death's doors there, that you feel like nothing was completed. You had the average, lifestyle, living a family, just surviving. You don't want to survive. You want to truly be free and live and chase down everything, freaking swim naked in Yellowstone River or whatever the hell you want to do. That's outrageous, but it's like you have the ability to do it. You just have to break out of that comfort zone.
I told the people I worked with today, uh, I was doing that thing. Like I went to school, I was going to be a teacher, I was going to get married, have a kid, and die. And like I snapped out of it. I came awake. I wish someone told me, "Hey, go to school, not for a job that you're just going to be mediocre at because you think it's your calling. Get a job that like you can make money at, so you can fund your hobbies, that you can fund your like dreams and stuff. There's no need to be a starving artist. There's no need for you to live an unhappy life. Chase after it." And that's what I did when I woke up one day. Like I was in my car and I was like, I'm not happy. I got to change. And I did. I changed everything. And now I'm like on my way. Like I'm pretty like successful right now, but like it just gets better and better like every day. Like I just signed a contract. I'm doing a wrestling gig tomorrow. I'm doing stand up this weekend for my tour. And that's just because I put in the work, Like, yeah, I had to start from nothing. Like I slept in my car quite a few times going to school and everything. Had to drive 6 hours for a special training program on the coast, but it was worth it. I'm like happy. And a lot of people can't say that. Like that's the most important thing, you know, just be happy.
It's funny because a lot of people are going to hear this when the episode releases and they're going to be like, wow, he just got another famous person on his podcast. And I literally sit there and say, my podcast is open to everyone, just like we talked about when I messaged you. It was sliding into your DMs, just a random thing. And, everyone is inspiring in their own way. I title my episode your name, and then in the parentheses, it's your job description. they're average everyday folks. These are people living a normal life. But if you look up your job description, it gives such extensive detail into something you're like, I don't fucking do any of what it just said I did. Like for me, I'm a houseman at a hotel. You know what it tells me I do professionally? I'm a clinical supervisor of industrial hospitality, something else. And I'm like, I don't even know how to say that. What I definitely don't do it. You know,
Mm.
it's simplicity, and it's like we give ourselves. You know, people send me something like, "Can I be on your podcast?" I'm like, "Sure, man." And they're like, "Here's all my degrees. Here's a bachelor in science and also a major in philosophy, whatever." It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter to me. It makes me sick when you send that stuff. That's awesome that you had that. You did that. It's awesome. We'll talk about it. But I'm not gonna justify you on that. I'm going to justify you on you have thoughts, you have emotions, you have feeling in this world. Let's have a fucking conversation.
Yeah, my certificates and all my degrees and stuff, like they don't really make me proud. Like I'm proud that I was able to get them and like honor my parents because they wanted me to go to school and stuff. Like there's that. But like all the moments I hold dear, like they don't involve those pieces of paper, like at all. All my moments involve friends and traveling and nature and stuff like that. Podcasting, just learning new stuff, like those are the moments I hold dear. That's what makes me as a person. That's what kind of just like that's who I am. Is some of my traits from what I've learned from stuff like that. That's why podcasting, I think, is like one of the most important new like mediums. Communications is really changing how we communicate just things.
It's
I think my
also
dad had it right back in the day, because he would listen to talk radio all the time, and he would always say, like, in the future, this is what's going to be up. People are going to even pay to listen to conversations, and he wasn't wrong.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's also a good way of communicating and keeping friends together. I know a lot of people, like for me, I can always Snapchat my buddy, and we don't have to talk for months, but he's always my best friend. He's someone that I would call my brother, even though we don't talk every day because life, it happens. You work a lot, you start to, not be able to hang out with friends all the time, but he's still my friend. But I know like for podcasting, there are people that are like it came together just to me, a group of friends, and then they ended up feeling like they had to produce content and be reliant, so they had to force each other to go out somewhere. When you come home from work and you just get home and you might have plans that night, you end up wanting to bail out on your plans because you don't feel like doing them. You know what I mean? You don't want to go out to a bar, you just want to sit at home, you don't want to go anywhere. It's because life had so much stress through the day. But people use podcasting as a way of connecting back together and then feeling like people were relying on them to create content, so they always had to meet and they always have fun doing it. That's what it is. So many times I'm like, God, I gotta leave the house. Then I end up leaving the house and I'm totally like, I'm glad I did that. That was awesome. Like I got my stuff done, I did all these types of things. But it's so hard to get yourself in gear once you get so comfortable because we're living lives of stress that we're not really handling effectively. And podcasting has been a major benefit for so many people from it, whether it's getting information out there, whether it's right or wrong, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a way of like a form of therapy.
It really is. And I think YouTube and vlogs and podcasting, like it's kind of goes back to what we were originally talking about, how technology's changed so much since the 90s and everything. And yeah, there's some negatives and stuff like kids not having a damn clue about what's the real world like outside their gamer windows. But like what I like to do is I do those short little vlogs and I'll upload them to my YouTube channel, and they're not a popular thing. Like they get maybe like 20 hits, 20 views, but those 20 views are like my friends, like either my friends stationed in Utah Air Base or in Korea or overseas, or their friends just scattered all over, and they're like, oh, that's what he's up to. So they'll watch it and then they'll message me like, oh, I saw that you went to like I went to the grand opening to that aquarium that opened in Tennessee or whatever, and they messaged me about that and stuff because they got to watch it. And then I did a podcast with two guys from that show, the Bigfoot Hunter show or whatever, And that one was a real popular one. But my friends messaged me about it. And they're like, oh, that's so cool. And it just gives us something to talk about. Because it's like you said, like you got a friend and you'll snap them like once a month, but you're still friends, you know? It gets harder as you get older because we have careers and jobs and we're moving and we're growing. And we're not really growing apart, but they're growing in distance. Like, but like all that memories in life you've grown together, it's still there. My best friend, like I hadn't seen him in years. He got stationed in Utah. Thank God he just moved to Florida and got stationed in a Navy base there. I want to try to see him for Christmas, but yeah, that's like a main way we communicate is through vlogs and photos and stuff. So it's just a real good medium to have, the way of the future almost.
Do you feel like with podcasting and all these types of things, like how hard is it for you to do a podcast about podcasts? Like you're kind of like mine focuses more on the individual person, but you try and get people's work out there as well. Do you find that gets hard sometimes? Like you feel like you're giving people a platform all the time, taking it a little bit too far, maybe?
No, I haven't come across anyone. Well, I'll take that back. 99% of the people I've done something with have been excellent. We've talked about their show, a project they're working on, and when someone's excited about their hobby, it makes me excited. It makes me interested. Like I don't like Dungeons and Dragons. Like no offense to anyone out there, but I was on a podcast about Dungeons and Dragons, and the guy was talking to me about a tournament he went to, and I got excited. I was like, dude, tell me more. Like, I probably won't play Dungeons and Dragons ever in my entire life, but just having a cool conversation with someone who's passionate about their hobby is cool. Like,
My
I'll
buddy,
give her a shout out. Not your basic yeah, let me finish real quick. Uh, my my friend, she does one. She lives in Hawaii. It's called Not Your Basic Murder. She does a murder investigation podcast, and I was on one of the episodes with her, and I had so much fun playing detective with her. It's absolutely amazing, astounding.
Yeah, my buddy owns a podcast called All D20, and it's all about Dungeons and Dragons. And I had him on, and I'm learning about this guy, much like I messaged you. And I'm sitting there talking to him, and he's telling me all about it. He's explaining his love for it and like what he does for it, and also just like where it came from. And we're just having a conversation about it because I had a Dungeons and Dragons poster, but I never knew what the hell it was. Every time I try and you have to set up games, it seemed like way too much work to set it up. But I see the passion and the response that people get from it, the love that they have for it, because it's storytelling, it's connecting, it's a way of a group of friends to get together and have fun, about something they care about. And it's amazing to see how far people really truly care about something and how passionate they can get. And I've got the messages, people saying, hey, I write I'm going to be on for 30 minutes, 20 minutes. I had someone do that to me in the middle of an episode. They said, oh, I got another meeting, and they ended it. And I told him, he sends me a message right after, when's it going back up? I sent him a message saying, what do you mean when's it going back up? When we finish it. He goes, what do you mean we finish it? I'm like, you came on for 30 minutes and promoted all your shit. There's no way I'm posting that. I'm like, you better come back on and we're going to talk about something else. He
Yeah,
came back on for another hour and a half, and then I ended up posting it. And I was like, there you go, man. Because this isn't a quick get and get out, promote your stuff and get out. No, it's about having a conversation, and I'll give you that minute at the end.
oh man, I had a guy. He messaged me, kind of like you. I'm always down. Like, message me whenever I'm down. If I'm free, I'll even try to make time for you. You know, this guy messaged me and he's like, I live like in California. I'm an author. Like, your podcast is making some buzz. I want to hop on. I was like, sure, man, you can hop on. And he sends me like a grocery list of everything he wants us to talk about. And he sends another like downloadable like tidbit of all of his accomplishments and degrees and stuff. And then like out of nowhere, like I was kind of turned off about it. So I was like, I'm busy. When I make time for you, I'll let you know. He messaged me like a day later, and he had flew from California to, God, I think to Atlanta. And he's like, I'm here for business. What's your address? And I was like, hold up. I was like, we're going to do this like either over Skype or something. Like, you're not coming to my house. Like, you messaged me out of the blue. I don't know like who you are yet. We haven't even talked on the phone. He's like, I only do interviews in person. And then he goes, this is how much it's going to cost for me to be on your podcast. I was like, man, just don't worry about it. You know, have a good life.
Hey, you better take that
Like,
flight back home.
people,
Oh,
that's the
shit.
only bad experience I've had. Yeah. Just people get a little too crazy.
I think like it's I think people get really passionate and they feel like they're not going to become anything, which I experience too. But at the same time, it's all about like things also take time, man. They take effort and they take things. And I've helped people build podcasts. I've been on podcasts and they always get pissed off when I don't promote myself. And I'm like, because there's no point. What means the most to me is when you look on my own personal Instagram, I have on my story called podcasting every single feedback message I got from somebody, whether they choose to share the episode or not, leave a review or not, whatever. But the feedback I get after I post it, thank you so much for having me on. And then the amazing whatever, whenever the conversation ends, because that means the most to me, because that doesn't mean that, like I did it because whatever. I did it because I wanted to know more about whoever, anybody out there. I'm giving the time to, we all live on this earth together. Let's take an hour to talk. And the feedback I get from it is amazing. And I love that I meet friends. I connect with more people. I'm seeing what they're doing. And it's, you just expand your knowledge on the world. And it means so much to me, that feedback message, more than a like, more than a review. I just want to know the person had an amazing time on it. I just want to know to make sure that it was good enough for them, because if anybody that can sit in a room with me for an hour to 2 hours long, I give them full on credit, because I know most teachers would be like, get the fuck out of here, kid.
And I think it like if podcasting is your hobby or something you just like to do, uh, you should just do it. Like, for example, like, I listen to some big podcasts. Like, I listen to Rogan and I listen to H3H3, but I listen to this small podcast called the Monster Buddy Squad. And it's just four overweight white guy nerds who just talk about nerdy stuff. And they maybe get 30 to 300 views every episode. But it's just genuine. It's fun. There's no gimmicks. It's just guys talking, and they talk about the kind of nerdy stuff I like. They talk about monster movies and traveling to Comic Cons, and they did a whole series about hitting all the Godzilla destinations in Japan. If you're like a Godzilla fan, like it's just stuff like that, and they know that they're not going to be able to quit their day jobs and podcast full time. Like they understand that completely. It's the fact that they are having fun with each other that makes it so genuine. And it's kind of back to what I said. If you're having a good time, I'm having a good time. Just good energy exchange.
Yeah, man. And you know what? It's been awesome that you at least took the time to even respond to me, first of all, especially on the same day, and then be able to do the podcast on the same day, too. Usually people want to check it out and make sure that they're not going to be attacked or anything on a podcast. I'm like, no, dude, it's just conversation. So I really give you credit for
Oh,
doing that, dude.
I wish somebody would try to attack me. I'd tear you apart verbally.
You put me
And I had to deal with hecklers on stage.
you put me in like some
Like
type
it'd
of like
just
arm
be
bar or
your
some
own
shit.
grave.
You'd attack you defend against
Oh,
it. You'd attack me mentally and physically, whether it's stand up comedy or whether you're professional wrestler moves. Well, dude, it was just awesome being able to talk to you and get to know more about you, because I can tell like just having a conversation with someone, you have a little bit of faith restored in people. Like like we're all trying to make it on this earth together, and I really want to give you here a minute at the end to promote your content, man, because people need to find your work and also need to, first of all, meet you and experience you, man.
yeah. Let me go ahead and I guess do the plug. Yeah, I'm Noah Christian Carr. I run the Car Baby YouTube channel and the Crossover podcast. Online, if you're looking for my comedy, It's just Carr Baby. I post links to that on my Instagram. I'm mostly active on Instagram. Find my professional wrestling work. I wrestle under Oliver Michael Goldstein. And that's about it, guys.
Well,
just me, just living life.
Just an average person doing more than average things. Well, thanks so much, Noah, for being on, and stay tuned for our next episode of Out of the Blank podcast.